Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our next Author's Corner, where we're actually focusing on adult books written by our sickle cell warriors and our caregivers. My name is Dr. Carolyn Rowley, and I am the Executive Director and founder of Cayenne Wellness Center. And again, it's my pleasure to have you all tune in for our next segment, and which I've always called this more like a fireside chat. Before you know it, it's over. But the chat and the information has always been so incredibly eye-opening, a learning experience, awesome, and it's just another way of learning about sickle cell disease through whether it's children's books, whether it's someone's personal experience, just yet another way of being able to learn about sickle cell disease and get that information. So, I wanted to share with you some topics that are coming up for you to be able to save the date and join. Our next mini seminar is on reproductive health, and we're partnering with Tiana Wolford's group, and that's going to occur on July 23rd. That's a Saturday, and they're usually from about 11 a.m. to about 1:30 p.m. This time, the topic is fertility, and this will be part two. We also have our mini seminar on mental health, and it's been fabulous so far. That one is the moderator is Dr. Theobia Jackson, who does an excellent job coming from an African centric perspective. And so it's on mental health, and we're going to be focusing on this time anxiety and sickle cell disease. That one is Saturday, August 20th. And again, that one is from 11 to 1:30 p.m. These are all Pacific Standard Times, by the way. Our t-shirt campaign, everyone loves the t-shirt. The pain is real. And it says sickle cell matters, sickle cell matters, sickle cell matters. The pain is real. We're doing another campaign. Many people were very sad that they didn't get a chance to get their t-shirt. So we have it again. Again, it's for a limited time for 3 weeks. It began today and it will continue until August 5th. So if you would like that t-shirt, the time to get it is now and to be able to order. And you might want to, it actually makes great gifts. And just to let you know that the proceeds benefit our client assistance program. The client assistance program are for our sickle cell warriors who reside in California. And all they have to do is fill out an application. They can get that from their community health worker where they reside. And if they need help with utilities, with rental assistance, with medical devices, or what have you, you fill out the client assistance program, and our board members review that within the month. And it's been extremely helpful for many of the warriors here in California. So that t-shirt campaign is really going back into the community, and those funds are to be able to assist our sickle cell warriors here. So we hope that you will buy one, buy two, buy a few for just to make sure people have their sickle cell gear for September, as well as for June 19th next year for World Sickle Cell Day. Give it as a gift. Give it as a way of letting people know that you support, and this is their way of being able to support sickle cell. So thank you. Now it's about that time. And so we're excited. We have two wonderful authors who are going to give us a snippet about their book and talk about their experience. And so, what I'd like for you to do, I know people are streaming from different platforms. what I wanted to say is that for Zoom, type your questions in the chat, and our tech team will copy and paste it here so that they can see. Also, if you're on Facebook Live or on any of the other platforms, you'll be able to type your information, and then the tech team will capture that and then forward it over to where we are here in the studio. All right. So, what I would like to be able to do is um, see if our lovely Dr. Kim Smith Whitley has joined us in the studio. And of course, she has. And I'm always, you know, I have to say, everyone, there's something special about a person that even when you say their name, that it makes you smile deep inside. And so I've known Dr. Kim Smith Whitley for a few years now, and it's amazing that who she is as a person comes through, and just her demeanor, but also beyond that, just her knowledge of taking care of folks with sickle cell disease. And people are indeed blessed to have her in their life. And we're blessed to have her moderate these sessions. So, without further ado, I'm actually going to turn this over to Dr. Kim Smith Whitley. But one more thing I wanted to share with you. We are, and we've done this in the past, if you've registered, we're actually going to be giving away one book each. And like we did last time, we'll just do a randomizer. And then whoever's name pops up, Mary will actually let us know that at the end. Those two persons will get a free book. Thank you, Dr. Kim Smith Whitley.
Thank you, Dr. Bradley. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very excited to be here with two very exciting authors. This evening, we're going to be discussing The Monster Within Me, Surviving Sickle Cell Disease. And then we're also going to be discussing Unleashing Royalty. So I'm going to ask the authors to join and start by reading excerpts or the entire book. And let's start with Juanita McClain. Miss McClain, are you here? Hello, good evening, good afternoon. Can you hear us?
Okay, there I go.
You're unmuted now. You're perfect. Good. Yes. Would you like to start by reading your book?
Sure. Will it be put on the screen?
It's coming up right now. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So we can actually see the first page and the inner cover, The Monster Within Me, Surviving Sickle Cell Disease, written by Juanita McClain.
I don't see it yet. I'm waiting.
And now we have the dedication that's up.
Yes. All right. So thank you for having me today. And this is a special moment because The Monster Within Me was written as a tool for children, and just something for them to be inspired and motivated by. So now I will read you a piece of my book, Dedication. This book is dedicated to my son, Antonio Soto, who passed away during my struggles of battling sickle cell disease. Also to my sons, Ronald and Aiden, for being my motivation and inspiration. And most importantly, God, for keeping me alive and giving me the strength to go on and inspire others. Hello, my name is Juanita. I was born at Children's Hospital. I live with my mom, my dad, my big sister Shantae, and my baby sister Jasmine. My mom and my dad was born with sickle cell trait, which caused me to be born with this monster that lives inside of me called sickle cell disease. When my red blood cells are not getting enough oxygen, they become deformed into a sickle shape. The sickle shaped cells are hard and sticky. The hard and sticky cells makes it hard for them to travel to the rest of my body, which causes me to have a sickle cell crisis, which is no fun. Some days I feel really tired and lazy. Other days I feel pain in places like my arms, my legs, back, and chest from the sickle cells. The pain makes me very sad. The disease is very scary. I never know when I'm going to get sick. When I have a sickle cell crisis, I have to take medications and get plenty of rest. Sometimes I have to go to the hospital if my pain gets really bad, or if it becomes difficult for me to breathe. My mom and my dad can usually tell how much it hurts by my tears. I even had to stay in the hospital for a few days, and the nice nurses and doctors helped me feel better by giving me oxygen, fluids, and medicine. Going into a sickle cell crisis can be very painful and scary, so I have to take very good care of myself to prevent them. When it's hot, I drink plenty of water to help me stay hydrated. When it's cold, I dress really warm so the cold doesn't make me go into a sickle cell crisis. I take vitamins every morning when I wake up. I also go to the clinic for a checkup to make sure my health is on the right track. And all those things helps me stay healthy. I can't do all the fun things that my friends can do without going into a crisis. But that is okay because there are so many other fun things that I can do, like playing with my toys, coloring, reading, even playing games. Even though I have to live with this monster within me, I am still like everyone else. I can still play, do fun activities, travel the world, and go as far as I want in life as long as I put my mind to it. And this is a quote that I felt went with the book. However difficult life may seem, there is always something that you can do and succeed at. Stephen Dawkins. Rest in peace.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's
You're
also
welcome.
important to note that you end by including uh, guide to the terminology used and then a link to the CDC website to get more information about sickle cell. The
Yes.
first question I would like to ask you is, if you call me Kim, I will call you Juanita. I don't know how you prefer me to address you, but I just want to make sure that you're okay if we are on a first name basis.
Yes, Juanita is perfectly fine.
All right, good. One of the things, Juanita, that I was thinking as I read this, just to give you a little context, I'm a pediatric hematologist. So I take care of children with sickle cell disease, and I've been proud to do so for over 30 years. And when I see something like this, it one makes me ask, what inspired you to write this?
What inspired me was my own story of living with sickle cell. As a child, I just knew all my struggles that I had to go through. And I had so many people around me because I have sisters, a lot of friends that I grew up with, and they didn't really understand what I went through and why I was in the hospital all the time. And so a lot of that was hard to explain to them growing up. But when I began to write, I had written my first book, Living with and Surviving Sickle Cell Disease. And I didn't feel like children would would get a chance to be inspired by that book because it was more on the adult side. So that's when the monster, when he came in, I wanted to give children that same experience, but in a childlike way. So just helping our children actually understand um, how sickle cell works, and they may know someone who goes through it, so they can understand how their friend may be feeling or can't, just be more supportive for them. So that's what inspired me.
Well, that truly came through because I can see young people of all ages who want to understand more about sickle cell, picking up this book and really gaining knowledge in a very user friendly way. One of the things that I was also thinking as I read through this is that you are so positive throughout the book about your experience and your views on a chronic condition and sickle cell disease. Where does that positivity come from?
So I wasn't always positive about my sickle cell experience. It was a lot of years that I was negative about it. So writing actually helped me become more positive and give it a more positive outlook. So I was already at that point when I got to the monster within me, and I just wanted, it to be a positive outlook on the disease and not really put that negativity out there, because we already know because we experienced the negativity. But let's look at it in a positive light and know what we can do to help ourselves, because that positivity is what's going to help us be more healthier.
So true. So true. When you think about your own sickle cell journey and what a difference this book may have made in your life early on, what age do you think is appropriate to introduce this to a family of children who have a sibling with sickle cell or a child living with sickle cell disease themselves?
I believe this book, you can start as early as the age of 2 if it's a child that likes to already sit down and read books. All the way up until, I would say, age 10, 11. I even have high school students who read it as well. And um, so it can be inspiring to any age. It depends on the person, maybe, and what kind of books they like to read.
I agree with you. It can be inspiring at any age. It surely inspired me when I read it. One of the other things that I think is just probably reassuring to young people who have sickle cell or another chronic condition, that your accuracy with things that are familiar in the healthcare space is spot on. You have a FACES scale in there for reporting your experience with pain. You have a blood vessel with red blood cells that some of them are sickled. You have the genetic inheritance pattern in the charts, the way that we explain them. Why did you feel it was important to include that content?
It was important for me because I want to educate people. So in order to educate them, you have to give them that resource. How can they understand this better? So I just wanted everyone to be able to understand sickle cell as best as I can.
Well, it really came through. It really does educate you as you go through. One of the things that we often talk about in this context in the author's corners are really self-care and how to take care of yourself. And you do this by really kind of explaining to young people what certain circumstances they may need to avoid and things that they need to do to stay healthy. Can you talk to me about when you incorporated that into your experience and what advice you would give young people about like following being well hydrated, avoiding extreme temperatures, staying warm when it's cold outside, and vice versa? How did you really incorporate those habits and those behaviors in your lifestyle?
Um, I think it took me a while to get there. Um, when I kept going into crisis, I didn't understand. So I had to research and educate myself on how can I be more healthier of living with sickle cell. So all of the research that I put into it kind of helped me understand what it was that I was going through and what do I need to do. So like suffering from things like jaundice and yellow eyes and just all of the crisis in the summertime, and it's like it's something that I can do different. So I started just doing a lot of different research, and I realized, okay, I should be drinking more water. I should be, doing this and that, and maybe a little exercise here and there won't hurt, because usually you think you can't do those things because you used to not be able to without going into a sickle cell crisis. So once you start putting your body in a different, just a whole different space, that positive space of taking care of yourself and know that you want to be healthier. I think that just helped me get to that point of just living that type of lifestyle. And so once I start living it, I can help others live it as well by telling them how I did it or my story, or.
And that's so true. I think one of the things that is so powerful about the voice of a warrior is really to be able to explain to others how your journey can influence someone else's journey in a really positive way. I think that many times we don't find the opportunity to do this well, and definitely in your story, you really provide the opportunity. I think that there are a lot of adolescents and young adults that could benefit from this. I wish we could put it in a way that everybody before they go off to college needs to read, or before they move out of their parents' home, and things like this, because I really think you talk about behaviors that are just good health care. Like you mentioned, good nutrition, good exercise, good sleeping pattern, just taking care of yourself.
Yes.
So I hope that there are people on this platform that will offer this to young people with and without sickle cell disease as a guide. The other thing that I'm very impressed by is the artwork. Can you talk to me about the relationship that you had with the artists that actually did the illustrations?
Um, it's funny because I didn't have any relationship. Well, the front cover, I'll talk about the front cover because when I was working as a teacher's aide before I became a teacher, I had a student and he was an artist and he used to always draw and write. So when I began my book, I was like, oh, I want you to draw this picture for me so I can see how it's going to look on a book I'm thinking about writing. He's like, okay. I was like, I don't know. I'm thinking about like something like a girl, but she looks like a monster as well, just kind of explaining what I wanted. And then he was like, something like this. So he started, drawing a little sketch. And I was like, yeah, like that. And so he drew it out and I ended up saving it. I forgot exactly how we did it, but I believe that I sent his sketch and then a few other things that I had chosen, just a few pictures I picked out that I thought would work well with the book. And I sent them to the illustrators, and I was just telling them like how I wanted to come to life, how exactly how I want this picture to look. Even though I'm sending you this is what I want put in this. And so I literally had to tell them exactly everything, exactly how I wanted it, and they put it together like, and I was amazed. Like wow, they understood exactly what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You really must have explained things incredibly well because it is just remarkable, the illustrations. So I'm mindful of our time, and I know that I want to bring you back after we have the opportunity to speak to our next author. So please just stay tuned, and then we'll have you back together for more questions.
Sure.
But at this time, we're going to transition, and I would like to invite Ms. Hendricks to discuss Unleashing Royalty. Hi, how are you this afternoon?
Hi, how are you? It's an honor to be interviewed by you. I've heard so much about you, so it's nice to meet you.
Well, it was wonderful reading your book.
Wow.
We will talk about it in detail, but I wanted to start by giving you an opportunity to read a segment from your book.
Okay. So I will start with the introduction. But thank you so much for everyone who has joined us today on Zoom and Facebook and all the other social media platforms. My name is Dima Hendrix. I'm a 3-time local pageant winner, 2-time state pageant winner, local pageant board, served for years as a state pageant director, as well as an international pageant director. I'm also a pageant director and health coach, pageant and health coach. And I'm also a sickle cell warrior. Couple of disclaimers before moving forward. Please do not use any of this content without my permission, without written request. And if you would like a written request, please email contact at unleashingroyalty.com. And I will just start with a tidbit of the introduction. All right, here we go. we are all royalty. Women and girls are queens and princesses. However, there are circumstances in our lives that prevent us from functioning in our full potential. How do we unleash our God-given royalty? Some may feel privileges and advantages such as wealth, prestige, class determines one's royal status. Etiquette classes, walking and runway coaching, wardrobe selection do not fully contribute to royal refinement. These practices are often expensive and will only help you play the part. You may have the right tools to help you aesthetically look like royalty, yet it takes emotional intelligence, discipline, and strength to become royal. When it comes to the pageant industry, I do have an extensive resume. I have titles including Miss Black Dorchester USA, Miss Black Massachusetts USA, Mrs. Massachusetts International. After my reign as Miss Black Massachusetts USA, I served on organizations such as Miss Black Massachusetts. In 2013, I joined forces with the Miss Black US Ambassador pageant system, which is now Miss Black International Ambassador, and held other executive roles. But big whoop, it doesn't really matter. My titles don't matter to anyone. Although I fell in love with pageantry at such a young age, it was my love of pageantry that propelled me to a life of mentorship and advocacy. If you do purchase the book, you will read more of those pageant experiences later on in the book. Although I'm considered a winner in the pageant industry, there were times I felt incredibly low of myself. As a daughter of a Jamaican and a Nigerian immigrant, I've adopted the belief that education, awards, and accomplishments would free me of all of my afflictions. But after being dragged through the muck and mire of my life, I realized all too quickly that all of my good deeds, pageant titles, degrees, meant absolutely nothing. I needed to free myself of my past that held me captive. I realized if I did not unleash my past, I would not be able to unleash my greatness unto the world. This epiphany led me to coin the phrase unleashing royalty. And Webster's dictionary defines unleash, which is a verb, it's an action, um, to free, to release oneself from restraint, uh, to cause a violent force by unleashing. For instance, this is used in a sentence: failure to talk could unleash more fighting. or we unleashed the dog and carried it into our car, like letting go, breaking free. And royalty has many different meanings, and it's a noun. And it could be a person of royal stature. It could mean a person of nobility, um, a person, and even royalty as terms of, I don't know if you hear a musician earning his royalty, and that's the royalties that he needs to be paid. That can also mean royalty. Um, but all of that aside, unleashing royalty is about letting go of old habits and beliefs that block you from your destiny. Unleashing royalty is all about capturing your own crown and being the best queen that you are destined to become. Although this may book's resources may help you with becoming a pageant contestant, it's really not about that. It's about being your best self. Let me be clear. It's not about winning a pageant. Many contestants may use these, many contestants make the tragic mistake of focusing on the supernatural and superficial aspects of their upcoming competition. What wardrobe should I use? What line of makeup will best suit me for stage? How can I enhance my body before competition? But these questions are on the minds of the most professional competitor. But what about character development? Unfortunately, most competitions rarely concentrate on the character development that needs to take place before any contestant win their crowns. With social media on the rise and moral standards at a rapid decline, I believe there needs to be real questions about, there needs to be a moment where real queens stand up and be an example in today's society. Want a pretty crown? I believe that you could just go to Amazon and pick one up. The crown that I'm referring to is the crown of honor, self-esteem, and inner power that is only achievable with discipline, hard work. And then I'm going to stop there and go into the actual formula, because the whole title is Unleashing Royalty, a royal formula to help you walk in your queendom with purpose. And the royal formula is to refine, have a complete overhaul, yield, activate, and then we end with legacy. Refine is, when you think of refinement and how gold is made, gold is made in fire. And we are always, and then there's a worship song that is called Refine, and it's through the fire. I want to be used by you, God, and purge me, and to make me the best person, the best vessel that I can be. And it's the purest gold and the purest, most beautiful jewelry that's been in refinement for the longest. So, and then we go to overhaul after you refine everything, and say your house is burnt down to a crisp, or just your house is burnt down, or you go back in and you can take a complete overhaul and collect the things that are this useful after the fire, and the things that you want to keep with you after everything's purged. And I think when you're going through a trial, or when you're going through something, even through a sickle cell crisis, you want to, of course, let go of the bad memories associated to a hospitalization or anything that happened as a result, but you want to keep the empathy that it leaves you. You want to keep the good character that the experience has instilled in you. And then, again, that brings me to yield. Talking about yield, like when you yield a crop, you yield all of the things that has grown. And it's also a twofold meaning, where you can stop to yield. You can make a pause before moving forward into your destiny. And then after you pause and you collected everything and you yield, you walk into, your destiny. You do the things that God has called you to do. You do the things that you are purposed and called to do. And then after that, you leave a legacy. So that is the royal formula. I'm going to end by saying thank you so much. You can go on unleashingroyalty.com for more information, or dimahendrix.com. I'm on social media on both handles. And then I also have a podcast and some gear. I have the Through the Pain podcast, where I highlight sickle cell warriors that have done so many things through the pain. And I have some merch to go with it. And the merch that I'm proud of is called the Emergency Room line. And you can look at that at throughthepain.org. And I also am a health coach with the Charisma Study. So the Charisma Study is a study that uses CBT methods. In addition to your medication, we tried to talk to you and use CBT to help with the pain. Each person that is selected will get a health coach. So yeah, that's all about me. And thank you for having me.
Now I really have more questions. So first of all, thank you for not only your reading of the introduction, but for also you shedding light on that very important formula. One of the things that I think has been so striking about your journey in this book is that you really give such good advice on self-awareness and self-care, and really taking this as a journey to improve yourself as a person. And you talk about knowing your core values, establishing your own vision, and then preparing a course of action. So when I am going to ask you this question, it's actually to take that in light of the fact that in your first chapter of the book is the first time that you mention your sickle cell experience.
Yes.
So you really engage the reader, talk about what the purpose of the book is, and then use your sickle cell story as a vehicle to kind of like demonstrate some of these aspects of improving yourself. Mm-hmm. Talk about why you made that decision to do that.
I made that decision because as a coach, I work with people, especially in pageant coaching. I hear a lot of, you don't know what it's like to go through this. So you don't know, you have no idea what it means. And I'm trying to help someone and to refine, and making sure that they are their best selves. But there's always this preconceived notion that I have it all put together. And so I have to present like, you know what, honey, I've been there, done that. So now that we have that out of the way, let's work on each other. Let's work on ourselves. Let's work on you without the judgment. So the way I handle that in coaching is the same way I decided to present in the book.
Yeah, it actually, you talk about so many important life experiences. It's that refinement stage, right? You really went through the fire, and yet you found that inner strength. I know that you allude to it, so I give you the opportunity to talk about it. Talk to us about some of the things that give you that inner strength.
Only my relationship with God, just point blank, period. There are times where I was talking, it was crazy. I was talking to someone today, and she was talking about resuscitating and pouring back into life and reviving and bringing back to life. And there's so many times where I told the doctor, do not resuscitate. I'm out. Like this wrap this up. Sickle cell's done me over. I'm done. And so it was, it's his purpose for me to still be around with all the people that I love so much and I admired so much that passed away. People younger than me, that passed with sickle cell disease, my mentees and mentors that have passed, it's just, it kind of like, okay, why am I here, sir? God, why am I here? So that keeps me humble to know that I'm still here to do something. I still have purpose. And so I'm, till the wheels fall off, I'm going to continue to walk in his purpose.
Well, it really has given us a gift, which is this book. It sounds like you went through many life experiences that most people couldn't have come out on the other side to be the person that you are. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
One of the other things before we get into the self-improvement aspects is your relationship with your family. You weave in your relationship with your mother, with your father, with your uncles, with your culture. Talk to us about how you have used that to inspire you and move forward.
Well, talking about my family, I don't even know why I kind of went into that. The closest relationship I had was with my mother. And that relationship was severed. If you read the book, it was severed at a young age. I never had a relationship with my father. And then my relationship with my uncles was like, oh, you're just here to, go make me some food, go get me a bowl so I can wash my hands. And like, it's one of those passive aggressive relationships. So I never had a father. But, and then the importance of knowing your royalty and who you are, especially like if you look at Queen Elizabeth, she was born into that situation. She came, she's the heir to the throne.
Yeah.
And, Prince William's kids, that they're digging in their nose at the palace right now, but that's going to be one day our king, or, and they're automatically in line because of their birth. And I never, I just felt like gum at the bottom of my family's shoe for so long. So I never looked at myself as royalty. So I put it in the book because I felt like despite of my relationship with my family, the tumultuous relationship that I had, I still had to think of myself as a daughter of the Most High.
Yes.
And I'm God's princess.
Yes.
And, so that I just thought that was important to note that this trash, I was born, not of nobility, but I'm making use of my life.
And you go back and you draw associations with things that you decided to leave behind. You talk about your uncles and how their impression of, washing their, having the bowl right there, and how you were like, I'm going to do something better. You talked about those experiences of getting the notepad out and rating the pageants with your mom as that positive thing. So you took experiences in a positive and a negative way and used them to shape who you were going forward and what you wanted to do. So I thought that was really important for us to understand that aspect of you. And it took a lot of courage because that had to be a really vulnerable spot for you to write about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The other vulnerable thing you write about is your sickle cell.
Yeah.
And your medical experiences. And, one of the things that I wonder as we go through the book and we hear about royal and the honor, the self-esteem, the inner power, how did you use those tenets to help you address your sickle cell?
To be honest, it was my hematologist that allowed me to do that, and I didn't want to, because when you're in pain, it's like that's the last thing you want to talk about. You feel like trash. You feel like, okay, please give me this pain medicine. I want to go to sleep. But my hematologist, every time I went to the hospital and she knew I was coming, she would make it known that this pageant queen, yes, she has sickle cell, but she's a pageant queen and she's doing all these things. You need to take care of her. It was my hematologist, Dr. Lillian McMahon from Boston Medical Center. Shout out to her. That
Amazing.
made me feel special.
Yeah.
And she just made it known. And yeah, it was people like her at the hospital that did it for me, that I didn't have to do it for myself.
When you think about the self-improvement, one of the things that you focus on, which I just loved, is having your values help you envision your goals, right? And making sure that they align. Talk to me about how you guide people in their value selection. I loved your list because it went through so many different values, but you spoke about the importance of choosing the ones that meant the most to you first.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that process and how that helps you to define your visions and your goals.
So, for instance, I'm just there's so many. I'll use this. I won't use pageant terms, but say if you're looking for a career, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your values are integrity and honesty and just empathy. That wouldn't probably be a career choice. You wouldn't probably be like a politician or it wouldn't align with. You have to find those values to make sure that what you want to get into, you're aligned with what you want. It just doesn't make sense. Or if you're like, so I'll use pageant terms now. So there's different kinds of pageants, and there's the Miss America system. They have different core values, and then the Miss USA system has different core values. And then after, I'm going to say this out loud, after George Floyd passed, none of the pageant systems spoke out about it, or they did not. I felt at the time they didn't care. So, but the pageant I was a part of at the time is Black International. We spoke out about it. We created a campaign. So contestants who are of color, their values were kind of challenged by going to the other systems that didn't necessarily care about them. So you want to be around, so your values not only match where you want to go in life, but what's around you. If you're honest and you're telling you're not a thief, you don't want to hang with a thief, and you don't want to hang with a liar. And your values create boundaries around your heart. They protect you from for future drama. So I think your value system is very important.
Yeah. Well, I really love the fact that you engage the reader in a way that you give them the opportunity to practice, as you go down, write these top 5 values or things that you want to leave behind before you move forward in your life. These kinds of guides and opportunities to practice, I think, are very important. For somebody who is picking up this book for the first time, what do you want them to walk away with?
I just want them to gain a better understanding of themselves. whether they're a woman suffering from sickle cell disease, whether they're about to or consider competing in a pageant, whether they're a stay-at-home mom. I just want women, especially, to understand that they are daughters of the Most High, and they're royalty. And their royalty needs to be unleashed.
And one of the things that one of my favorite passages, and then we'll open it up for questions, but you say, "It is my sincerest hope that with each passing day, you're adding worth and value that will lead to the discovery of your inner royalty." That is what unleashing royalty is all about. I also urge you to remember this is a process. Be patient with your progress and be patient with yourself. So thank you. This was a wonderful read. And I'm going to ask Dr. Rowley to come back, and I'm going to ask Juanita to join us so that we can take questions and have more conversation.
All right. So I have a question for Juanita, and I wanted to find out why monster? Why monster?
Okay. Can you guys hear me? I feel like sickle cell represents a monster that we can't get rid of. It's a representation of the disease as itself. You know, this monster that attacks your body, that doesn't let you that you fear. You know, something that you fear. It's just a lot that I've thought about with sickle cell, and when I thought about a monster, it's just so much wrapped into it of how it can affect your life and how it can make you feel on a daily basis and how it takes so much from you. And I feel like nothing but a monster can do something like that to a person.
Thank you. And thank you so much. And I wrote some notes. And I wanted to just to Dr. Kim Smith Whitley, that Dr. Kim Smith Whitley is our queen of the sickle cell community. I needed to make sure that I mentioned that.
Yes, she is.
Thank you.
So I wanted to make
sure I'm in good company of royalty this afternoon, this evening. I feel the same way about the three of you. So
thank you. So I know that Renee Kirby actually is in Zoom, and it's just saying many great things to Dima regarding the illustrations, for writing the book. And she likes the whole idea of the purpose of refinement, which is a good way of purging, you know. I know for myself, you know, when you go through a sickle cell episode, there's so much that goes on, both the psychological that you have to manage and the physical with all the drugs, and then the mental with having to advocate. So when you actually are done and you finally get home, I call it detoxing, because one has to detox from all of it. You have to purge, somehow manage that trauma, look back at what took place and what you, like you said, what you can from the fire, what tidbits that you can pick up that may be helpful, but literally detoxing all those the drugs, the sounds, the experience, all of it, because there's no place like being at home. And when you're, you know, in the hospital, it is so completely different. This is not like just having a surgery on your toe. It is a tool that one has to almost become reborn again after literally purging, detoxing, all of that, putting good things back in, and then you get to merge back onto the freeway of life, you know? And then unfortunately, I think as Juanita was saying, sometimes that monster comes and then you have to exit and deal with all of that, purge it all, detox it all until you can come back in and merge back. So I think the terminology that you guys use is so fitting, you know. I never thought about it that way, and maybe other people can actually benefit from your descriptions. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you just took us to church. Thank you. It makes so much sense from that aspect.
All right. And so I'm going to ask our tech team to see if there are questions from, and I'm sure they would have put it in, questions from all the different platforms, as well as Zoom. And so, the other thing too about writing a book, it really is not an easy process. People think that, yeah, just tell your story. Much easier said than done. Believe me, much easier said than done. There is a whole lot to share, but you also want it to read well. Um, and it's funny. Before going into the profession that I am, I actually wanted to be a writer. And I have to share, when I was in high school, I was on writing for the newspaper. And do you know, I took it to heart whenever they had to redline different things that I wrote. And I just said, ooh, I'm too sensitive. I'm too sensitive for that because I thought what I wrote was pretty good. And I was doing more of the editorial. And I realized I think I'm a little tender skinned to be able to deal with that. And so writing a book is not easy because you do have to have people look at it to be critical, only because you want it to be, again, refinement, only because you want it to be the best that you can produce so that you can be able to share and be able to have others learn from that and use it as different tools to advocate or what have you. So it isn't easy. So again, applaud you both for sticking to it and being able to get that done.
Well, thank you for that because I'm going to be honest, it took 10 years. I had the idea and it kept rewriting, and this part sucked. Don't put that in there because you don't want to hurt that person and add this. And it took a lot of prayer, meditation, and some crying fits with my editor for it to happen. And my editor actually, she just like, you know what, you're done. I'm putting it out. You already, process is done. You pay for my services and you keep pushing it back. So you know what? There you go. And I went out. I was kicking and screaming when it came out. I was just so scared because I still felt it was not good enough.
And I thank you for that as well, because I actually didn't have editors. I did everything on my own, and so sometimes I feel like I wish I had an editor. I wish I had more people after I go back and read some of my materials. But it's all a learning experience. But the monster within me, I think I had a lot of support with my teacher friends. So they definitely helped me out with rereading and rereading my stuff every time I act. So I do appreciate them for helping me out and being my editors.
And of course, and I think that's what authors do, whether it's through having an agent and or friends that you trust. I think everyone actually wants it to be refined, and they actually do go through that process. Just different when it's more self-published than perhaps if it's through an agent and a publishing house. So thank you. Thank you. And anything else, Dr. Kim, that you wanted to share?
Well, one of the things that is also obvious is that you all talk about your experiences with your support system. And Dima, you have quite a few people that you thank in the beginning, right? And you've had a village around you of support. And then Juanita, you mentioned your boys and their support. Can you talk to me about how you all have used your own personal journey to help your support system be more supportive for you at those times when you need them the most?
Um, I would say just teaching them, the things you need, and once they once they see you go through it so many times, people often they just learn, they pick up on things. Um, I choose my kids to say my support system because when I am down and I am in a crisis, they are always there, and they have no problem with helping mom out, knowing mom isn't feeling well. And so I really appreciate that from them, even though they're young and they probably don't understand fully, but they want to know and they want to learn and they want to be able to help me. So I just do my best to try to make sure I'm always positive because I know sickle cell can sometimes make us negative when we're going through our crisis. So always just try to stay positive and knowing that they're just trying to help or, knowing that I still have to try to take care of them and take care of me as well. So I'm going to help both of us out by just learning each other's needs. And everybody else who have been supporting me as far as my mom, dad and friends, um, they just been around me my whole life and seen me going through it. So I just feel like they just picked up on the things that I needed and I picked up on it wasn't early in my life that I picked up on it, but as an adult you just know that everybody can't feed into you. You still have to feed into them as well. Even though you have this illness, it's not like, okay, everybody still has to just cater to you. You have to think about them and what they go through as well because they're still people and they still have their own issues. So I always try to keep that in mind.
Juanita, you hit the nail on the head. For me, is I wasn't trying to teach my village at first because I think sickle cell is just too much. And I think that burden on somebody else when it comes to like a relationship or when friendship, I think I'm high maintenance friend because not just because I'm in pageantry. That I could take that people could take, but I'm a high maintenance friend because of sickle cell. Oh, you can't go swimming. You can't, it's too cold. Now you're too hot. You can't go clubbing with us. You can't go drink. So it's like I'm not that girlfriend. So I think the people that really honestly love me, who I thanked in the book, they took the time to get to know me. Especially, well, I'm gonna speak for my best friend. Actually, said this. She took the time to get to know me because she felt that our friendship was valuable. That I bring something to the table in our friendship, and so she took the extra investment and the extra time to study me. And so did my husband. My husband went from like not knowing anything about me to having a PhD in me. Like this, like he knows me he knows I'm in pain. He knows the looks that I make. He knows when I'm wincing. He knows, oh, it's raining. You're about to be in pain. He knows all of those things. So they just took the time and the effort, and it's something that I really value and appreciate.
I like what you said, Dima, that, and this is for everyone listening, your girlfriend, as well as your friend and your boyfriend, fiance, now your husband, they saw the value in you. And to be honest, we all have value. As long as we have breath today, we're here for a reason. And wouldn't it be nice to know that someone feels that our life, not just we know that it is because I'm still here, but that someone can actually confirm you're worth getting to know, you're worth um, understanding, you're worth offering grace to, you're worth being patient with, you're worth it. And so, um, I'm listening, but I get emotional about that because we're blessed, you all. What about those, unfortunately, whose support
Mhm.
systems, quote, get tired?
Mm,
That happens. And we understand. I mean, that's called fatigue, perhaps. There may be some other things happening, but they get fatigued. And so, um, I mean, we hear that, um, but it's not, this is something that we're born into. And it's so nice for someone to be able to confirm that we have value and that we're worth
Mhm.
getting to know. You know what I'm saying? That's just
Yeah.
wonderful. And I'm really glad that you actually said that. We have to remember to use that, but ultimately to remember to not just offer grace to others. Let's offer grace to ourselves as well. Sometimes,
Gotcha.
sometimes things just happen. Sometimes we know that we can hydrate more, cover up more, or what have you. But I do want to say this. Um, People don't really like to say, "So what did you do when you have a pain episode?" As if I did something. It does happen. And so, through no fault of our own, it does happen. So, to be able to extend grace to ourselves, patient to others when they say things like that, and because I have someone in my family who I know loves me, and but they'll say things like that. So, I have to take a deep breath and go, hmm, you know, sometimes it just happens, and that's it. Therefore, you preserve yourself, you preserve your energy. It's also a teaching moment. And so I wanted to just be able to share that as well. Thank you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And Dima, I know you have a whole section on self-worth, right? And the importance of incorporating that and really nurturing that and building on that. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
it's something I have to read almost every day because I was I don't know, it's just I'm still working on it. Even though I wrote it, I think I wrote it for me. It's something that we need to work on all the time. If it's not a part of our like a daily affirmation, we need to kind of check in and make sure we understand and understand our worth. And the best way to be concrete in our worth is to also understand our boundaries. Because the people that we are around and the things that people, it could be innocent. We overextend ourselves. Sometimes it can make us feel worthless and
Mhm.
even and when we do the most, like I used to be I mentioned before, like my Jamaican heritage and my Nigerian heritage is like it's like we have to do, and it's like we're not doing. I've done a lot, and still to my family, it's like, but you're not a doctor. But you're not this. But and that can make you feel entirely worthless. So we just have to check in with ourselves and say, you know what, I don't have to do all the things to to be worthy. I can just sit here, in pain or not, and just breathe the air and breathe that God has chosen to breathe into my lungs, and just that alone makes you feel worthy.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You just brought such imagery to me when you had this discussion and you said that you felt unqualified to wear the crown, right? And I think that crown, bringing that symbol back, is a great way of reminding yourself of
Mm-hmm.
your worthiness, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't, if you in my office, I have like all of the crowns that I won up there, and then some. They don't mean nothing. At the end of the day, like I mentioned in my book, you want a pretty crown, you can order one off of Amazon. It's the crown that's on your heart. It's in your heart. And then we look at the royals who are wearing the crowns now. Like Princess Di. I spoke in my book about Prince Elizabeth I. Her life was like atrocious. She went through a lot. Even the queen that's on the throne right now, her life was. If you watch The Crown, these are people that, yeah, they have crowns on their head, but there are days they wake up on the one side of the bed and they don't feel royal. And they have to, like anybody, have to reaffirm themselves and who they are.
Yeah, we have a comment in, I think the Zoom, we can't be someone's checklist to feel worth or belonging. Yeah. And then Dr. Rowley, I think we have another question for both authors. What was harder, the beginning or the end of your book?
The whole thing.
Harder in what sense? To write it or to
Well, I think I talk about with people, there's the process, and some people like to hurry through the process, and then there's the end result. And the end result is now you have this physical manifestation. And so I think with that, was the conceiving of it and the process harder, or if I'm reading the question correctly, or finally getting to the end and that very end. What was that like?
Yeah, I think getting to the end was harder because you want to make sure that you ended on that note. You got to hit it off on a note. It has to end perfectly to where you leave that impression on people. So the ending is always going to be hard because you already probably know exactly how you want to start it, but how do you want to end it is the question. So just being an author and just writing different books, I've never felt so good about an ending. I'm always redoing it and redoing it. So.
And then Dima, I think you said all of it, correct?
The whole thing, the whole process. The process is crazy. Because I had the ending, I was finished, and it was my publisher that had to kick me off the ledge. So it was
Okay.
A lot of anxiety all the way through.
Okay. But it's what's interesting is I actually have to say, no matter what it is, I mean, writing a book or creating something new, a new program, I actually, because I'm um, make sure that I'm actually mindful about many things. I actually like the process. Um, I don't ever want to, because I know that when it's ending, things were already knitted together for it to come to that point. But I actually want to be present through the process because once it's done, then you're like, okay. And a lot of people sometimes are not even present, but they want to rush it through. They're trying to hurry it up. I actually, personally, for myself, I like to be very mindful of the process because I actually know for a fact that at some point it will be done, and I don't want to be able to forget. Um, and I know some people like to hurry it through and they just want to get to the end. So all of it, I think, can be all of it can be a journey that one either begrudges or one decides that okay, I'm going to be mindful of it and take the good with the bad and all of that and the ups and downs. So thank you guys for that. Not sure we still have Juanita. It sounds like she went from one device to another device.
And then I think while we're waiting for, there she is, she's coming back. Yeah. Then I think Renee Kirby posted another really good question. Renee says, to both authors, are you writing another book?
I do have another project in mind, but I want it to be more of a collaboration of other sickle cell authors. But yeah, that might be like in the far distant future. But I do have other Unleashing Royalty projects to go with this book that I'm working on right now as well.
And Juanita?
I do have a book that I have been writing, but it has been about 2 years.
It can take a while. I think Dima said it took 10 years, and it can take a while, particularly with just living life. And so I'm not even sure how some people can just knock it out in months. I'm not sure how they do that unless they put themselves in the closet and not get disturbed. But it's challenging because you still have to live life and then set aside that time. Thank you, Renee, for that question. All right, well, I'm going to turn this over to um, Dr. Kim Smith Whitley.
So I just want to just really, again, say thank you. One of the things that inspires me about these sessions is that not only do we learn so much more about our lived experiences with sickle cell, with chronic illness, but also very much so about who we are as people and how we can do the best that we can to look at self-improvement techniques, to practice self-care. I think that that is something that has just been a really incredible theme running through all of these. And to that, I really think that that's one of Dr. Rowley's focuses, is to have us look within ourselves and find those things that we can improve upon, to just for better health, both physical and mental overall. So I think that this has been just a really, really important session that reinforces all of those features. Dr. Rowley, I don't know if we have any more questions or.
We have a comment, and again, Renee, she says, "This is great to hear from other lady authors," and I agree. I did want to, again, also ditto and say thank you both. It's been a pleasure to have you. I want to be able to just share some things that we did in the beginning, just to let the audience know a few things. Save the dates, if you would. So, for those of you who are devout followers, we do have our next mini seminar on reproductive health. And that one will be on fertility. And that's July 23rd. That's a Saturday, 11 to 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. We have another mini seminar on mental health, this time on anxiety and sickle cell disease. And that's going to be on August 20th, same time, 11 to 1:30 p.m. Dr. Ethiopia Jackson did a wonderful job. Dima actually was part of the first one, which was on depression and sickle cell disease. Oh my goodness, it was phenomenal. You really want to come back for the one on August 20th. We currently have our t-shirt campaign. And so Dima actually showed some sickle cell gear. I'm always letting people know, increase your sickle cell gear. We're bringing back the t-shirt campaign. It is a campaign, which means that there's a uh, time frame. It begins today and it ends on August 5th. And this was created by Dr. Wanda Witten Sherney, called Sickle Cell Matters, and then the pain is real, which it is. And so we're offering that again so that you all can wear that throughout September. So I wanted to just share those things with you. And again, from Cayenne Wellness Center and our team. I want to be able to thank Mary. Mary stays always behind the scenes. Mary, if you're camera ready, I think we need to meet you. People need to meet you. Mary Alcacer is great. She's our program manager. She helps connect with all of the authors that we actually have, all of the speakers for our mini seminars. And so we're thankful for Mary. Also, Curtis behind the scenes for tech. One more I forgot to plug in. We actually have our annual seminar coming up in September, September 15th through 17th. This time, you all, it's going to be a hybrid. Yes, we said it. So it's going to be virtual and in person in California. So for all of you all who are in California and you're finally wanting to have an in-person experience, we're going to do it. Of course, we're very cognizant of COVID, so it's going to be limited. So it is best if you were to register as soon as possible because we actually are going to limit the number and we're going to keep tabs on where we're at just to make sure that people are actually safe. And we'll have things put in place. But that would be a great opportunity for us to finally get together, right? So we're just hoping, let's just see how things happen in the next 2 months. September 15th through 17th is our 14th annual Sickle Cell Disease Educational Summit for 3 days. So we look forward to having you all come in either virtually or in person. And with that, I actually would like to say thank you again. But I actually this time want to leave it, not sure if Juanita is still on or if she had trouble. Um, but I want to actually this time have Dima and Juanita have the final words. You all wrote this for a reason. I'm sure part of it was cathartic, but I'm also sure that you don't believe something. And as Emma mentioned, she talks about legacy, the L in legacy. Juanita, we're going to start with you with final words. Dima, you're going to take us out. And again, everyone, thank you for joining us. Juanita?
Hi. So, yes, so I just want to take the time to thank you guys for having me today. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to read my book and to share my story with the world. Um, I just want to say that we want to make sure that everyone understands how much sickle cell awareness is important and how we want to get that knowledge and education to our communities. Um, and in Buffalo, New York, we're a new nonprofit organization working really hard to bring change to the Buffalo community. So if you would like to get involved with anything that we're doing, you can look us up at the Sickle Cell Warriors of Buffalo on social media. We'll be hosting our September walk. This will be our 4th annual walk at Delaware Park on September 3rd. So we look forward to people coming out and supporting us on that. And also, it will be virtual as well. So if people would like to watch in other places. So that is all I have for you guys. And once again, thank you again for having me.
Thanks, Juanita.
And Dima, nice to meet you.
It's so nice
And
to meet
good
you
luck.
too. All right, take care, Juanita. We should stay in touch.
Yes, we should. All right. Have a good one.
You too. So I will close up and wrap up by saying again, thank you, Dr. Raleigh. I'm glad that we met through the Sickle Cell Consortium. I'm glad that I see powerhouses like you, Dr. Bailey, Dr. Kim, and I've been able to interact with so many SCD warriors who are powerhouses in their own right. You guys inspire me for me to keep being a powerhouse as well. And I would like to interview you on my podcast soon so we can chop it up. So check out the Through the Pain podcast. It's on throughthepain.org. But I do want to leave you guys with a quote that's in my book. There's so many sickle cell warriors that, We're called drug seekers. We are turned away. We're not treated with dignity. But one of the quotes in my book, it says, it's her right to be treated with love and dignity. Love and dignity is a human right that we all deserve. So whenever you're feeling like you're not being treated with dignity, keep holding on to that. That is your human right to be loved and to have dignity.
Thank you. Dr. Kim, wonderful job. We're always thankful for you coming in and moderating, and um, and I think our authors now are looking forward to always having you here. So we thank you.
Thank you.
And everyone, hey, it's about that time. We're going to end right now. Like we said, before you know it, it's already here and it's already over. But again, follow Juanita McClain. She's in Buffalo, New York. I understand. Follow the podcast Through the Pain, and so everyone have a good rest of your Friday. Thank you for being with us, and we're out. Thank you so much.